Dragon Ballers, if you're looking to buy Dragon Ball Super or One Piece sealed product, make sure to get 5% off using my link to Mystic TCG down in the description. You can also sell cards to them using their Facebook link, which is also down in the description. Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. We are back into set 20 Power Absorb Reveals, and today we're doing a video that I was hoping I would never ever have to do. Invoker is my least favorite deck to play against historically. I think it's a super unfun strategy as far as like game design goes, but we have more Invoker support in set 20. Now, the one saving grace I'll say is that not a lot of this stuff seems to work outside its own contained set 20 archetype, but there are of course older cards that should work in this deck, and we'll talk about a bunch of those because even though I don't like this deck, I should still get you guys up to date on, you know, how it might fare and what types of cards should be played in the deck. But anyways, we'll get into that in the video. If you guys are new here, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And with that being said, let's jump right on in. Of course, starting with the leader, we have Android 17. He is a Warrior of Universe 7 leader. So if I remember correctly, that basically eliminates all the specified cost on Universe 7 cards. So this is more or less potentially a Rainbow U7 deck, but I think the way you want to do with Invoker is probably just going to be the typical red blue, but there's, I guess, some other cards you can splash in and out of this. So we have auto when this card attacks, draw one. Auto when you add a red blue multicolor card to your energy, switch one of your energy to active mode and negate this skill for the game. So that's pretty much a convoluted way to say basically once per game negate energy exhaust, which is kind of cool. Now what I'm wondering about this effect is like, as soon as you charge your first red blue energy, does this proc? And I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, because let's just say you charge a red blue and don't untap. Is the skill still negated for the rest of the game? I want to say yes, because it's not worded like other optional autos that let you use it at a different time, because normally those say, and if you use this skill, then negate the skill for the game. So you can just basically get a free energy exhaust once per game, and you want to be very meticulous about when you do that. Most likely you probably don't want to do that turn 1 unless you're going to actually play a 1-drop. You could wait till like turn 3, turn 4, charge a red blue, and then make a big play with that energy that would have otherwise been entering tapped. Awakening Release of 4 or less, or you have a Universe 7Z battle card with energy cost of 2 or more in play. Draw one card, untap one of your energy, and add cards from light to hand until you have 6 life left. Now, one important thing to note here is there are a lot of different Universe 7Z battle cards, especially within different colors. And with this thing being Warrior of Universe 7, you can definitely take advantage of that. And yeah, we're not only locked to like the different U7Z battle cards in this archetype. Even though there are actually a lot of them, I think there's 4 different ones, it's still going to be worth taking a look at the older ones we've gotten since set 18. But anyways, we have Warriors of Universe 7 united as one, so that is the new name of the leader. This is no longer an Android 17 leader. Then we have Warrior of Universe 7 auto once per turn. When you play, attack with, or activate the blocker of a Universe 7Z battle card, draw one. That is now the draw engine you're tied to. No longer just simple attack, draw a card. You have to have a Z battle card in play, a Universe 7 one, and you have to be doing one of those 3 things with it in order to generate your draw power. So you can see this archetype is heavily reliant on its Z battle cards. Auto once per turn, discard 1 Deadly Clash from your hand. When you use an arrival to play a red-blue multicolored battle card, choose one of your Universe 7 cards with arrival, and it gains barrier for the turn. Adding some protection to a pretty important card we'll see later, but one thing I'm noticing here is this does not say when you play a red-blue U7 battle card, so there might be some playability for Cooler Tyrannical Assault among other red-blue cards in this deck for your different arrivaling purposes. But anyways, let's see some of our main deck stuff. We have Android 17, Calm Judgment. We have a 1-drop 4K. Once cards played, look at the top 5 of your deck. Add up to 1 red-blue multicolored card with energy cost of 6 or less among them to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Searching a good majority of your deck, both battle cards and extra cards. Definitely interesting. Auto limit 1 if your leader's a mono red Warriors of Universe 7 card and a red U7 cards in your combo area, and you discard 1 red blue multicolor extra from your hand. When this card is used in a combo, draw 1. So it's not necessarily like a super combo, because you have to already be comboing a card and then discard a card and then combo this card itself. So that is a pretty heavy resource investment, but you do at least get a draw out of it, and you can use this as a makeshift arrival fodder. That also is nice for putting some of our older extra cards in the drop, because if you remember, the older Invoker extra cards have the ability to be warped, and look at the top 3 and add an extra card. So that sets that up pretty nicely. Then we have Android 18 Selfless Savior. We have a 1-drop permanent. If your leader is a Warriors of U7 card and there are no copies of this card in your drop, when one of your red Android 17 cards will be removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill, you may discard this card from your hand instead. That is a very cool piece of protection that I don't think we've really seen much, if at all, on cards in this game. It's not barrier, it's not deflect, but it is a way to protect your boss monster essentially without giving it one of those quote-unquote broken keywords. You kind of have to have this 2-card combo, both the card itself on the board and this card in your hand, in order to protect it. I do like that a lot. And then when this card's played, look at top 5, add up to 1 red U7 card with energy cost of 6 or less, summon into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So now we're not actually searching extra cards, we're also not necessarily searching multicolor cards, but we can search red and multicolor red U7 cards with this 1-drop. Then we have a very interesting floodgate. We have SSB Goku Beyond Full Power. We have a 3-drop 10k counter attack permanent. During your opponent's turn, if a red, blue, multicolor card's in your energy, reduce energy cost of this card in your hand by 2, and then auto limit 1. If your leader's backside's a red Warriors of U7 card, you have 3 or fewer energy. When this card's played for the turn, when your opponent would use a non-awakened skill to switch one of their energy to active mode, they can't switch to active mode unless they place one of the energy in the owner's drop. So this is kind of weirdly just strictly targeting Crimson. Like, this had to have been designed before Bandai had any idea that Crimson was going to be the problem that it is. So this just punishes things like that, things like offensive Senzu Bean, which this might have even been designed before Senzu Bean was errated or thought to be errated. So yeah, this might have just been a hard limit on those types of strategies. Nowadays, this won't hit too much, although it will hit, again, like Crimson, if it doesn't end up getting banned after the World's LCQ and maybe other random stuff like Another World Blitz or something. But yeah, this is not going to have the same effect that they probably initially printed it to have, although it's super contained to one type of deck, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, it's very similar to the old Borgos, and there's like a Whis and a couple other cards of different colors that do the same thing, except those have to be on the board for those to take place. This just basically puts a blanket effect turn it's played. So yeah, good side deck card, but probably won't see too much main deck play because it's just not going to be that widely applicable. All right, now we have some actual red-blue cards for the deck. Firstly, I wanted to mention Royal Condemnation, which is an older card that you should be able to play with this deck. It's interesting because we don't have God Sealing anymore, so this might be one of the very few archetypes that can actually counterplay most things in the game. Now, this thing having an energy restriction of 8 or less is not really that much of an actual restriction because 8 cost is pretty much everything up to SCRs, and funnily enough, this can actually counterplay Gohan Beast, so that's worth noting for sure. Then we have Universe 7 Powers Combined. We have a 4-drop extra card, but you can basically ignore the cost on these extra cards because Invoker makes them cost 1. So we have Energy Exhaust, Auto Limit 1. If your leader's a red Warriors of U7 card, you place 1 U7 card from your energy in the drop. At the end of your turn, add this card from your drop to your energy with its Energy Exhaust negated. So that's going to just be giving you an active mode energy at the end of whatever turn you decide to use this, which is definitely not a bad thing. Good for playing defensively, playing on your opponent's turn. Activate main/battle, choose one of your cards and it gets plus 5k for the turn, and then choose one of your opponent's cards, non-leaders specifically, and it gets minus 30k for the turn. This is very, very similar to Emperor's Death Beam, although it just adds on a Senzu Bean essentially for the turn. So good defensively, very, very good defensively. Offensively, the plus 5k is good on multi-attackers like dual and triple attackers, but I think generally you will be using this card on the defense. Then we have Deadly Clash. So remember that the awakened side of the leader actually has a lot to do with this card. So we have Energy Exhaust, Auto Limit 1. If your leader's a red Warriors of U7 card and you send 1 U7 card and this card from your drop to your warp, when one of your U7 cards would be removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill or KO'd, draw 1 card. So this doesn't necessarily protect whatever card is about to be removed, but it does give you a draw for basically free because it's this card and another card in your drop getting warped. So at least you're making up some value on that, which is not the worst thing. And then activate Battle Limit 1. If your leader is a mono red U7 card, choose one of your red U7 Android 17 battle cards, switch it to active mode, and it gets plus 10k power for the turn. At the end of your turn, switch one of your energy to active mode. So it is a way to cheat your boss monster getting another attack, and then it puts in the drop for its auto, but then I believe your leader also puts in the drop. So you have plenty of ways to get it there to then get those draws when your cards would be removed. All right, then we have one of the cornerstones of the deck. We have Gohan Strength of Conviction. We have a 4-drop 15k Energy Exhaust, Arrival red-blue for only 1 red. Auto if your opponent has 3 or more energy and it's your opponent's turn. This card, when this card's played, it gains Invoker for the turn. So that is our main way to gain Invoker, at least in the earlier parts of the game. And then activate Battle. If your leader is a red Warriors of U7 card and it's your opponent's turn, switch one of your red blue energy to active mode, and you can't play battle cards from your hand until the end of your next turn. Okay, so a few things here. This is a much cheaper alternative in terms of energy to the 3-drop Vegeta, the Barrier Deflect guy that gives you Invoker while he's on the board, as well as the Android 17 red promo that was errated into the ground. Basically, that used to give you Invoker for 1 energy for, I think it was like 3 turns, and then it got errated to giving you Invoker for 3 turns for 3 energy. So this card costing 1 makes this a lot cheaper on energy, and it honestly probably makes it the best method of actually gaining Invoker. And this card is perfectly playable in the actual OG Invoker deck, except for that second activate battle, which lets you untap an energy, but then you're locked out of playing battle cards until the end of your next turn. So during your next turn, you cannot play battle cards. You can go to your opponent's next turn and then start arriving things. That's perfectly viable, but this is just basically an extra energy untap if you want to give up the ability to play battle cards on your next turn. So defensively, and as far as like Invoker goes, this card seems excellent for the strategy. Then we have another super rare, Android 17, the move that turns the tide. I think it's just so funny how this is so similarly named to Android 17 turning the tide, but this is a 6-drop 25k. It's got double strike, and it arrives for a red and a blue. Permanent, if your leaders are red Warriors of U7, this card gains Invoker. So specifically this leader, this card will gain Invoker. So for 2 energy, you are getting the permanent Invoker out there. And don't forget, with these 2 cards in particular, your awakened leader can give them barrier for the turn they're played. I believe that's by pitching the Deadly Clash. Auto, when this card's played, look at top 5 cards of your deck, add up to 1 red blue multicolored card with energy cost of 6 or less among them to your hand, shuffle your deck, and then choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 4 or less and KO it. So we are searching for probably any extra card we need, like Emperor's Death Beam, or the one we read on the previous slide that is basically also Emperor's Death Beam with a Sensu Bean attached. So you are searching a good bit of your interruption. Of course, like, Sensu Bean's gonna be great in this deck, and then you have red blue beer super combo to be untapping energy. So even though you're investing 2 into this, you should have a good amount of cards to then play those defensive things that you're searching, and also just like stockpiling in your hand. We have activate battle to limit 1, discard 1 card from your hand, use up 2 red and or blue cards, both with 5,000 combo, and Universe 7 from your drop in a combo with their skills negated for the turn. So not only is that helping you set up a rival, but it's also helping you set up Z energy, which is definitely a really important thing this deck wants to be doing. And Arrival just kind of goes hand in hand with Z energy, right? That's one of the things we see with like the Android 16 deck, where that deck just combos naturally to arrive things, and it also makes good Z energy. So that's just another upside of this type of deck. And then I wanted to point out Goku Rival Seeker is just another method of arriving things. It's a free 10k combo as long as you have the appropriate requirements met, and it also sets up plays for potentially some Catastrophic Blow stuff, although Catastrophic Blow might not be all that great in this deck. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on the kind of win condition you build your deck for. Maybe it could work out. We'll talk more about that a little bit later, I guess. Alright, then for some more new cards, we have Frieza, Pride of an Emperor. We have 3-drop 20k double strike. While you have 3 or more energy, reduce the cost of this card in your hand by 1, making them a 2-drop. Auto limit 1, if your leaders are red, use 7. When this card's played, draw 1. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards to get to minus 25 for the turn. Just super solid removal for a 2-drop. Draw a card, kill a guy, 20k double strike. Not too bad there. Auto limit 1, if your leaders are red, Warriors of U7, and you place this card from your combo area in the owner's drop. When you activate a red blue multicolor extra, draw 1. So this one's kind of weird. I guess you do this in a sequence, and just like spoiling ahead a little bit, Vegeta has the same auto basically. If you lose a red Warrior of U7 and you place this card from your combo area in the owner's drop, when you use Arrival to play a red blue multicolored battle card, draw 1 card. So I guess they want you to sequence it in this very specific way, where you use these 2 cards to arrive, and then like you use Vegeta to draw a card, basically getting you out of comboing it. And then if you activate an extra card in that same sequence, you can then sack the Frieza Pride of an Emperor to get another draw and replace that card itself. And then you can use Android 17, the activate battle there, to then combo them both again from the drop area, and I guess make some Z energy out of that. It's very convoluted, but I can kind of see how it works. So this is one that I definitely think we'll need to see it play out, because you might not even play these 2 specific cards just to make Arrival plays. Like typically we're not comboing a red and a blue card to Arrival things. We're typically just comboing multicolored cards. So these might not even see play in the deck, but their on plays are actually pretty good. So going back to Vegeta, going into his on plays, he is also a 2-drop if your leaders are U7 card and you have 3 or more energy. And then auto 1 to return when this card attacks, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and place it at the bottom of the owner's deck. He has 20k dual attack. So yeah, their on plays are both solid. You might play them for that reason, and then we'll see if like the other effects just happen to come up And then we have Frieza Overwhelming Omnipotence. This is actually a tournament pack card coming out, so it's 3-drop 15k. Permanent. If your leader is a U7 card and you have a Universe 7Z battle card in play, reduce energy cost of this card in your hand by 2, and then auto limit 1. When this card's played, draw 1, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 15 for the turn. So for a 1-drop, drawing a card minus 15 and a 15k body, not bad at all. All right, now let's read through all these walls of text on these Z battle cards that seem to be so integral to the deck. Let's start off with Gohan Daring Onslaught. We have a 2-drop, 1 Z energy cost, deflect, Z stack 2, red, Universe 7 battle cards. So I guess any of these here pictured are going to be able to go under Daring Onslaught. Auto for a red. If your leaders are red, Warriors of U7, and your opponent has 2 or more energy. At the start of your opponent's main phase, play up to 1 red U7 with energy cost of 3 or less from under this card, and place this card under the played card. So a little bit of Z battle card like swapping. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if that is super relevant for anything later on. Let's take a look. We have Goku Rapid Fire Response. We have 2-drop 15k, 1 Z energy cost, again Z stack 2. Auto if you have 4 or more energy. When this card's played from under a card by a skill, this card gets plus 10k power and dual attack for the turn, making it a 25 dual attacks. Not too bad. Although Gohan plays during the opponent's turn, so that wouldn't work out too well. There must be another way to play this during your own turn. But then we have Auto. If your leader is a red Warriors of U7 card, at the start of your opponent's main phase, play up to 1 red U7 card with energy cost of 2 or less from under this card, and place this card under the played card. So again, you can just swap between basically Daring Onslaught and Rapid Fire Response. Then we have SS Vegeta Immediate Response. We have 2-drop 3 Z energy. Auto limit 1. When you use Arrival to play a red-blue multicolored battle card, draw 1 card. Activate limit 1 for a blue. If your leaders are red Warriors of U7 and you have 3 or more energy, play 1 red U7 card with energy cost of 3 or less from under this card, and remove this card from the game. So you can do some more Z stack swapping with immediate response, but he kind of stops his own chain. Once you use him to do that, he gets removed from the game. You can use him as a sort of draw engine for arriving. Then we have Android 17, Impeccable Defense. We have 3-drop 3Z energy, barrier blocker. When this card's played, it can't be KO'd in battle for the turn. And then activate main limit 1 for a red and a colorless. If your leader is a red Warrior of U7 card and you switch this card to rest mode, play up to 1 Universe 7 card with energy cost of 3 or less from under this card. At the end of your opponent's next turn, remove this card from the game, and then activate battle limit 1. If it's your opponent's turn, switch this card to active mode, basically giving you the double block there. So yeah, lots of like really weird Z stack swapping and switching around and tagging in and out. Honestly, I think that's the coolest way to think about it, is tagging in and out like a WWE wrestling match. But that's basically what you're doing in the Universe Survival arc, right? You're basically just fighting for your life in a big WWE brawl. But yeah, these cards, none of them scream like insane to me. Like, I guess Impeccable Defense is okay. They all just seem like okay. I don't know. We'll have to kind of see how they end up working out in practice. But now I want to talk about just a few cards you can, of course, play in general with this deck. So the main SCR is probably going to be Goku and Vegeta Apex of Power, as long as you can have the 5 red-blue multicolors in your drop, the extra cards specifically. You can play Victory Strike again, which is not going to be super fun for me, but for a lot of people that had this card and been holding on to it, that is going to be a super valid SCR to go for, among other ones, of course. Like, of course, there's 4 cost Vegeta. I mean, it's an 8 cost, but Vegeta Unbridled Power, pay 4, wipe the board, burn a life, kill unisons, that whole good thing. You have a lot of options for SCRs in this deck specifically. And then we have Ultra Instinct Goku Energy Explosion. So I pointed out Rival Seeker before. I don't really see much that's stopping us from playing Cat Blow. Don't forget, though, Cat Blow is errated to limit 1. So, you know, you can't really just like shotgun for a bunch of burn damage, but if you get your opponent to 2 life, Ultra Instinct Goku plus Cat Blow should do the final 2 damage. And then Emperor's Death Beam, you can just play this as supplemental copies of the extra card we read before that I can't remember the name of, because that card is basically just this card, but also a Senzu Bean. Although, I don't think that one ignored Barrier, so I guess Emperor's Death Beam is better for the fact that it ignores Barrier. So it kind of depends what situation you're in. Do you need to kill a Barrier guy? You want Emperor's Death Beam? Do you want just the defense plus the beam? Then you want the other card. But yeah, overall, I mean, this stuff seems pretty good. I kind of wonder how this deck is going to fare in terms of draw power, because it is tied to having Z battle cards in play. That's basically how you draw, but you can potentially draw during both players' turns if your Z battle cards don't get popped. But don't forget, we have a lot more barrier removal now than we ever had before, so that might pose a slight problem for this deck. But if this deck was a bit underpowered, I mean, trust me, I wouldn't be too upset. But overall, I think a lot of people are gonna have fun with this deck. I don't love it, but I think I'm glad a lot of people are gonna have fun with this deck and maybe see a resurgence in Invoker for those of the players that like it. But anyways, of course, I want in the comments below what you think about this archetype. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.